Hi everyone, thank you so much for clicking on my channel. If you're new here, my name is Abby Lynn. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm going to be trying some new makeup today, testing new makeup, kind of some first impressions. Some of it is new to the market, some of it is just new to me. So I will give you guys my thoughts on these products. So really quickly here, I'm just going to show you guys what I have and what I'm going to be trying out today. One of the products that I'm going to be trying out that is not new to the market, but it is new to me, is the Neutrogena Hydro Boost Hydrating Tint. Has hyaluronic acid in it, moisturizes and plumps skin for 24 hours. I also picked up the Makeup Revolution Conceal and Define Concealer. This is a new product to the market. It's a really hot topic right now. I've seen a ton of reviews about it, so I'm super excited to give this one a try. Something else that is new to me, but definitely not new to the market. This is like an OG drugstore product. This is the Coty Airspun Translucent Loose Face Powder. And I just have the original formula. I've been wanting to try this for so long. I've just never gotten around to it, so today is the day. The eyeshadow palette that I have for today, I am super excited about. I've been wanting to get my hands on it for a little bit, and this is new to the market. This is the Wet n Wild Rosé in the Air eyeshadow palette. This is designed to be a drugstore dupe for the Anastasia Beverly Hills Modern Renaissance palette. I can't wait to test this out. It's super affordable. It was less than $5. And the last thing that I grabbed was a new lash series from Eyelure. This is their Vlogger series, and this particular lash style was a collaboration with Ann Lee. These are foaming lashes. They look really beautiful, and the band looks nice and thin. So I have high hopes for these. If you're excited to see how all these products apply and wear on my skin, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, go ahead and hit the subscribe button down below. Let's go ahead and jump right in. I think I'm going to start with foundation today. That way you guys kind of can see how it's sitting on my skin. Normally when I try a new eyeshadow palette, I would do my eyes first just in case there is any fallout, but I'm just going to live on the edge today. So I'm first going to prime my face using the Smashbox Photo Finish Primer Water. So this says that it is a hydrating tint, so I'm just guessing by that name that this is going to be a super light coverage kind of a foundation. I love that it has hyaluronic acid in it. That's like my new favorite ingredient in everything. I have the color Classic Ivory, by the way, which definitely looks a little bit more yellow than pink based. It has a giant doe foot applicator, and it smells like paint. It smells like the Wet n Wild foundation, which I'm not crazy about, but it's also like super thick. It's just kind of sitting on top of that applicator there. It's not running. I'm just gonna be applying it with my sponge. I really don't know what to think of this foundation. I can tell you right away that it seems to have already oxidized. Like as I'm applying it, it seems to have already dried down a little bit darker. It's definitely light coverage, which I expected. We'll have to just see how this one warms up to the skin. I'm okay with it being super light coverage because the concealer is supposed to be full coverage. At least that's what it says on the bottle. I have the color C1, which is the lightest shade, of course. Now, I've watched quite a few reviews on this, and a lot of people were comparing it to the Tarte Shape Tape. But as I was watching the reviews, many people came to the conclusion that it really wasn't a dupe for the Tarte Shape Tape, which I'm totally fine with because I don't really love the Tarte Shape Tape, to be honest. I just find it to be really drying under my eyes. This is a super affordable concealer though. It was around $7. Oh, that smells like plastic, like really strong plastic. Why does stuff have to reek, you know? Like, I get that people don't want scented stuff, but I also don't want it to smell like plastic and paint. So I'm just gonna apply this where I would normally apply my concealer. And I'm gonna blend that out before I put it anywhere else on my face because I don't know how quickly this dries and I don't want it to start to stick in any areas and get weird and patchy. The color is like super light, so if you're really fair skinned like me, this is a really good color option. It definitely brightens the under eye. I don't know that I would call it super full coverage though, but it's sitting really nicely. Like it's not drying out my under eye, it's not emphasizing my fine lines. I'm gonna add just a tad bit more right here because my pregnancy melasma is coming through. So far so good. It's not looking cakey or heavy or anything like that. I'm just gonna kind of balance out the brightness on the rest of my face and add it just down the center. I'm kind of hoping that I fall in love with this concealer because my MAC Pro Longwear just completely ran out, and that one I have to order online because it's not available anywhere near me. So far I'm really liking the way my skin looks. So I'm going to set my face. Now, I don't want to set my under eyes using the Coty Airspun because if things get weird, I won't know if it's the concealer or the powder because they're both new to me. So I am just gonna set my under eyes using my RCMA No Color Powder because I know exactly how that performs, but I will set the rest of my face with this. Now I'm going to go in with the Coty Airspun. This just has so many great reviews. I don't know why it's taken me so long to use it. I'm probably not going to use this puff. I like to use my sponge to set my face. And as I expected, because I've heard, this smells just like your grandma. My grandma. Everybody's grandma. They should just call this scent grandma. So the scent is a little overpowering, but the powder itself feels luxurious. Like, this feels expensive, but it's not. It was from the drugstore and it was super cheap. And you get a ton of product in this. This is 2.3 ounces of powder. I'm just gonna go right in using my damp sponge and set some of those other areas that I concealed. And also like right here where I'm going to be putting my bronzer because I don't want that skipping around and getting patchy. As I was trying to set my forehead, the foundation literally just like lifted off right here. I didn't put any concealer there. Concealer was right here and it didn't lift off where the concealer was, but where I put the foundation, I don't even know if you guys can see, it just totally lifted off where I was trying to powder it. So I'm gonna try to fix that situation. I'm just gonna add a tiny bit more foundation to that area and see if I can smooth it out. And I'm gonna try setting that area with a brush instead of the wet sponge and just see if it will maybe hold up a little bit better. Okay, that fixed the problem, but I am feeling like it looks a tiny bit heavy in those spots now. Like it looks like there's makeup sitting on my skin. Hopefully a setting spray will help smooth that out. I'm just not crazy about the way my forehead looks in general after setting it with that powder. It feels so nice on the skin though, like it just makes your skin feel like velvet. I don't have any new bronzer or highlighter or brow product to try for you guys on camera here, so I'm just gonna jump off camera and do all that really quickly, and then I'll be right back to do eyes. Okay, I'm back with my brows on and my bronzer and highlighter. I will say that my bronzer blended over that Coty Airspun powder just flawlessly, and now that the foundation has had a little time to warm up to my skin and I went ahead and set my face with the Smashbox primer water, this whole situation on my forehead has smoothed out and is looking better. So let's move on to eyeshadow. I have the Rosé in the Air eyeshadow palette by Wet n Wild. This is designed to be a drugstore dupe for the ABH Modern Renaissance palette. Now, I don't own the Modern Renaissance palette. I never really felt drawn to the colors, especially for the price point. So when I saw this come out, I was like, okay, this is definitely worth buying for less than $5. And I can kind of play around with this color palette. And if I absolutely love the way these colors go together, but maybe I'm not super impressed with the formula, then I know that buying the Modern Renaissance palette will be worth it. If you already own the Modern Renaissance palette, I don't see why you would need to go purchase this. But if you've been eyeing the Modern Renaissance palette for a long time but haven't been able to justify the price, I think this could be worth picking up. I love that they included 2 transition colors in here that are clearly labeled transition. Plus there's also several mattes in here. My big pet peeve with drugstore eyeshadow palettes is that usually there's way too many shimmers and not enough mattes, if any. So I feel like I would be able to create a lot of different looks with this eyeshadow palette because there are so many mattes to choose from. I haven't swatched this at all, so I'm just gonna kind of go in with my finger here and just kind of feel the quality. Actually, it's not bad. I kind of expected it to be a lot more chalky, but it's actually quite smooth. Of course, the real test is going to be how it blends out on my eyes. So I'm going to start with this transition shade here for my crease. My initial reaction is that it's blending really nicely. This particular shade is not like super pigmented. I've already had to dip in a couple times to build up the pigment. It is skipping just a tiny bit right here on the center of my lid where the side of my brush is kind of touching my eyelid, but I have used way more expensive and high-end eyeshadows that skip a lot worse than that does. This is like barely noticeable. Since I know that this one does skip a little bit, it will help me on this eye to close my eye and kind of tilt my brush upwards so that it's not dragging across the lid. Looking at a picture online of the Modern Renaissance palette, this transition color is a dupe for the warm taupe shade in that palette, and I'm actually loving this color. It's like such a nice neutral transition color. Definitely not too warm, but it's not too cool toned either, which is perfect because you do have some warm toned and cool toned options in this palette. So you could go either way with this transition color. Or if you really wanted to lean more on the warmer side, they do have a warmer transition shade here as well. I'm just gonna go over the eyeshadow with just this big setting brush from Real Techniques. This is just gonna make sure that it's super blended and diffused. I'm gonna take this light lavender shade, which is not a shade I would typically go for, and that's the reason I wasn't particularly drawn to the Modern Renaissance palette, because I'm not really into pinks and purples. But hey, we'll try something today, see how it goes. And this is a shade dupe for Buon Fresco in the Modern Renaissance palette. So I'm just taking that on a large flat shader brush, and I'm gonna tap it on the outer half of the lid. I don't wanna bring it all the way in because I do wanna put one of the shimmers from the palette there. This color seems to be pulling a little bit more mauve-y as opposed to lavender, which I'm actually really happy about. I'm just going back in with that original brush we used in the crease, but I haven't put any additional product on it, and just blending out the edges. Now I'm just gonna go in with this like light champagne, almost a gold shimmer. This is a dupe for the color Primavera in the Modern Renaissance palette. And I'm just gonna take this on my finger and place it on the inner half of my eyelid. This one feels a little bit more chalky than the mattes, so hopefully we'll get good pigment out of it. I'm gonna try to get that color to pop a little bit more, so I'm gonna go in with a brush and then wet it with some Fix Plus to see if I can get it just a little bit more metallic. That did help, but I'm still kind of just underwhelmed by that shimmer shade. I want to deepen up the outer corner of my eyes a little bit, so I'm going to go in with this shade right here. This one is supposed to be a dupe for Red Ochre. Okay, this color just kind of went everywhere in places I did not intend for it to go. It kind of like flew over to the middle of the lid here, and it's just kind of sitting there. I also feel like it's going on just a tad bit patchy right on this outer corner. I'm gonna go back in with that light purple shade and see if I can just kind of get this area to blend together a little bit more seamlessly. That actually helped a lot, going back in with that color. I was a little worried for a second that maybe I had ruined the look, but I think we're gonna make it work. I'm pretty happy with that. So moving on to the lower lash line, I'm just gonna repeat the exact same steps. So I'm gonna take that transition shade and run that across the lower lash line. I just love that transition shade so much. I feel like I'm gonna get so much use out of that. I changed my mind. Instead of bringing that purple and red shade to the lower lash line, I'm actually gonna go in with this darker shade here, which is a dupe for Cypress Umber. Just using the same pencil brush that I used before. And I'm gonna keep that color really tight to the lower lash line and like on the very outer corners. I just feel like bringing that purple and red shade down to the lower lash line might make me look a little sick, and that's not really the vibe I'm going for. I think I'm gonna bring that same shade just up here, close to my lash line, just to kind of tie in the upper and lower lash line a little bit better. I think I'm gonna call that good as far as the eyeshadow look goes. Overall, I think that the palette blends really nicely. I had a little bit of trouble with that darker red shade, but I was able to fix it and make it work. The shimmer wasn't as intense as I would have liked it to be, but it still looks nice. So again, I think if you're interested in the color selection of the Modern Renaissance palette, but you don't want to pay the high-end price, this is definitely worth going and picking up. I jumped off camera real quick and curled my lashes and put on some mascara on my upper and lower lash line, and now I'm going to be applying the Eyelure x Ann Lee false lashes. I was really drawn to these because they remind me so much of my Blinking Beauty #1 lashes. However, my Blinking Beauty lashes are $29 and these were about $8. Also, the band on these looks really thin, which I personally prefer to the lashes that have super thick bands. I just think that lashes with a thinner band are so much easier to apply. They look so much more natural, and I also think that they tend to last a little bit longer than the ones with a thicker band, and I don't know why, but that's just been my experience. I've given that about 60 seconds to dry. I like the glue to be really, really tacky when I apply my lashes. We'll see if I can do this without like going out of frame. Lately, I just have to be like right up in the mirror. Actually, maybe I'll just grab my taller mirror, which will probably end up in frame, but I gotta see what I'm doing, you know? You know what I'm saying? So I just dropped that right in the center, and now I'm gonna go in and attach the inner and the outer corners. Those just applied so easily, like that was so easy. Now I'm just gonna pinch together my natural lashes with the falsies so that it kind of just looks like one lash band instead of two separate sets of lashes. What I love about these lashes is that they're dramatic and they're flared out on the edge, but they're super wispy, so you can still see all of the eyeshadow through the lashes. Both lashes are on, they are beautiful. I definitely wouldn't call these everyday lashes for me personally. I know that some people wear really dramatic lashes and that's their everyday lash, and that's great. For an everyday look, I definitely prefer something a little bit shorter. These are quite long. I meant to grab a new lip color to try out today, but I forgot. So I am gonna jump off camera, put a lipstick on, and I'll be right back. I'm back, and I'm just gonna give you guys my final thoughts on all of the products that we used today. So the first thing that I used was the Neutrogena Hydro Boost Hydrating Tint. This is a nice product, but I'm not like wowed by it or overwhelmed by it by any means. If you're looking for something that is a lighter coverage and is going to be moisturizing, this might be a good option for you. This also is a nice light shade if you're a super pale skin girl like me. It doesn't look bad by any means, it's just okay. The Makeup Revolution Conceal and Define Concealer I am currently really liking. I don't think it's super full coverage, but then again, I tend to use a smaller amount of concealer than most people because that's just what works for my under eyes. So it's possible that you could build this one up to full coverage, but just with a couple dots under my eyes. It's not full coverage, but it is a nice medium coverage, and it's giving me the finish that I like. It's not super heavy or drying. Plus, I love the color range on this one. It goes super fair, which can be hard to find in the drugstore. The Coty Airspun powder, I'm not really sure how I feel about this one. The scent is really off-putting. Like, I just feel like everything that I used today on top, like my bronzer brush, my highlighter brush, they all smell like this powder now, which I'm not crazy about. And I can still smell it just sitting on my face. So if you're really sensitive to scented products, this might not be a good choice for you. But as far as the formula, it is really finely milled. It's very soft. It has such a nice velvety finish to it. All the powders that I put on top of it blended beautifully, and it's not looking heavy anywhere. It does feel really nice, and it is super affordable for a lot of product, but it's probably not gonna replace my RCMA No Color powder. But I do see myself grabbing this and trying this out a little bit more. The Wet n Wild Rosé in the Air eyeshadow palette, I'm actually really happy with. I really love the way that the eye look turned out. As far as it being a dupe for the Modern Renaissance, I can't speak to the formula of Modern Renaissance because I don't own that palette and I've never used it. However, other reviews that I have seen say that the formula of the Modern Renaissance is of course more high quality, but I feel like for a drugstore eyeshadow palette, this one is really good. And I did find the eyeshadows fairly easy to work with, but it's still a really nice drugstore option. And for less than $5, I would say that this is definitely worth picking up, considering all the different looks that you could create with this color palette. And finally, the lashes I am just obsessed with. They feel so lightweight. I cannot feel them on my eyes at all. And even though they are longer than what I would typically wear, they're not touching my eyebrows and they're not like rubbing on the inner corners of my eyes or up against my nose. I also think that this style of lash would suit a lot of different eye shapes and a lot of different eye looks. I will for sure be wearing these again. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this video today. Hopefully you learned something. Maybe you're feeling inspired to go pick up some of these products. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And as always, I hope you have a fantastic day. Bye-bye.